Welcome to Minds in Motion.
Today's podcast is an open conversation with Bia, Peachy, Bammy, and Ava. And the topic is what every student has probably complained about once in their lives.
School! More specifically, why schools still feel like they belong in another century.
Seriously, think about it. Phones changed, cars changed, technology changed, society changed.
But classrooms, rows of desks, whiteboards, one teacher standing at the front, students forced to sit quietly for hours.
And somehow we're still expected to learn and improve with the exact same methods as generations before us.
So today's question is, why hasn't education evolved like everything else?
Were schools designed for today?
I think one reason students feel frustrated is because the school system is built to disconnect students from real life.
Exactly. Like in school, you're told, don't talk, sit still, follow instructions.
Meanwhile, real jobs demands communication, leadership, teamwork, and creativity.
And problem solving too. Most careers today don't just need people who memorize information, but people who can actually apply that to real life.
But schools sometimes feel like, memorize this test and forget it next week.
I saw this quote once that said schools were designed during the industrial era to prepare factory workers.
Honestly, that kind of makes sense.
And the problem is students learn differently.
Some people learn visually, some by discussion, some by experimenting.
And some people just cannot sit still for 7 hours straight.
And that's not because they're lazy.
Right. Some students learn best when they're moving around or doing something hands-on.
But if you're someone who learns differently, school can make you feel like you're the problem.
When really, the system might just not match the way you learn.
Think about it. If a fish is judged by how well it climbs a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's bad at climbing.
Schools often compare everyone using the same measurements.
But different people have different strengths.
Some are amazing at public speaking.
Some are incredible artists.
Some can solve complicated problems.
And some are natural leaders.
The challenge is creating a system that recognizes all those abilities.
Technology changed everything.
What's really strange is how fast technology changed the world.
Bro, our phones can literally translate languages, edit videos, and answer questions instantly.
Yet, in many schools, students still learn mainly through lectures and worksheets.
Technology already transformed education in many ways.
Yeah, platforms like Google Classroom made tracking assignments so much easier.
And during online learning, apps like Zoom and Google Meet basically became classrooms.
Then there's Khan Academy, where students can literally learn almost any subject for free.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
A student with internet access can learn from some of the best teachers in the world.
That would have sounded impossible like 30 years ago.
But even with all these tools, most schools still follow the same basic structure.
And maybe that's because changing an education system is really difficult.
Yeah, because schools aren't just buildings. They're systems involving governments, exams, budgets, parents, teachers, and homework.
And changing something that big takes time.
There are also concerns about technology in schools.
Yeah, because technology isn't automatically a good thing.
Students can get distracted pretty easily.
We've all opened a device to do homework and somehow ended up watching videos 30 minutes later.
Or doom scrolling.
Technology is a tool.
And like any tool, it depends on how people use it.
The goal shouldn't be replacing teachers with technology.
It should be helping teachers to teach more effectively.
Because no app can completely replace a great teacher.
Teachers do much more than deliver information.
They motivate students, answer questions, and support people when they're struggling.
Technology works best when it supports the human learning instead of replacing it.
The problem with grades.
Can we talk about grades for a second?
Oh boy.
This should be interesting.
I honestly think grades sometimes measure memory more than intelligence.
That's actually true in most cases.
And there are students who memorize information perfectly but forget it right after the exam.
Exactly.
Plus, grades can create huge pressure.
Especially when students feel like one test determines their future.
At the same time, though, schools need some way to measure progress.
True, teachers can't just guess everyone's level.
So maybe grades themselves aren't a problem. Maybe it's how much importance society gives them.
Yeah, because people start comparing themselves constantly.
And learning becomes more about scores instead of curiosity.
In a similar way of how an IQ test can determine if someone is going to succeed in life based off how much they scored.
Yeah, they might get a low score in math class but really good at art.
Intelligence can come in any shapes and forms.
People should learn to appreciate that more.
And grades don't always show how hard someone worked.
Two students might get the same score for completely different reasons.
One might have understood everything immediately.
While the others spend hours studying and improving.
But on paper, those stories look exactly the same.
Sometimes failure is actually a part of learning.
Think about learning how to ride a bike.
Nobody expects you to be perfect on the first try.
Yet in school, students often feel like making mistakes is something to avoid.
When mistakes are usually where the biggest learning happens.
Maybe school should reward improvement more.
Not just final results.
Because growth matters too.
What should schools look like in the future?
So, if we could redesign schools completely, what would we change?
Wait, but before we can redesign schools, let's go back to where it all started. Schools have existed for thousands of years. Some of the earliest schools were found in Mesopotamia around 4,000 years ago. These schools were mainly for training scribes, who recorded information on clay tablets.
In ancient Egypt, education was also important. Children from wealthy families learned reading, writing, mathematics, and religion to prepare for important jobs.
Later in ancient Greece, education expanded. Students studied subjects such as mathematics, philosophy, music, and physical education. The goal was to develop both the mind and the body.
The ancient Romans adopted many Greek ideas and created schools that taught reading, writing, public speaking, and law.
During the Middle Ages, many schools were run by churches, monasteries, and education is focused mainly on religion, although some students also learned grammar, mathematics, and astronomy.
As time passed, more schools were established and education became available to a larger number of people. Governments began creating public schools for children.
By the 19th and 20th century, compulsory education laws were introduced in many countries, making school a regular part of childhood.
So let's go back to the question. If you could redesign school, what would you do? First thing, less memorization.
More real-world projects.
And more freedom in how students learn.
I'd also make learning more interactive.
Yeah, because students remember things better when they actually experience them, frankly.
Imagine learning science through experiments instead of only textbooks.
Or learning history through debates and simulations.
Technology could help personalize learning too.
Like students moving at their own pace instead of everyone being forced into one speed.
Because honestly, some students get bored while others get left behind.
And maybe schools should prepare students for modern life more directly.
Honestly, taxes.
Everyone says that.
Because it's true.
I'd also like to see more life skills classes.
Things like budgeting.
Managing money.
Communication skills.
Maybe even basic first aid.
These are things nearly everyone will use in real life.
But many students leave school without actually learning them. Schools often focus on only academic success.
But success also depends on well-being.
It's hard to learn when you're overwhelmed all the time.
The future of education shouldn't just be about producing smarter students.
It should be about helping people become capable and healthy adults.
Final thoughts.
At the end of the day, schools still matter.
Education is one of the most important parts of society.
But maybe the system needs to evolve faster.
Because the world has already changed.
Technology changed.
Korea has changed.
The way humans communicate changed.
So maybe education needs to change too.
Not because learning is unimportant.
But because learning is too important to stay outdated.
Of course, there isn't one perfect solution.
Every student is different.
Every teacher is different.
And every school faces different challenges.
But conversations like this are important.
Because education affects almost everybody.
Whether you're a student, teacher, parent, or a future employer.
The decisions made in schools today help shape the future.
And maybe the best way to improve education is to keep asking questions.
What works?
What doesn't?
And how can we make learning better for the next generation? And that's all for today's episode.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And let us know,
If you could redesign school completely,
What
would you change first?